This is the beginner's guide to backpacking stoves. So if you are new to outdoor adventuring, hiking and backpacking, and you've been curious or even a little intimidated by some of these smaller capacity backpacking stoves, crazy origami style you see at the outdoor shop, if you are a moderate adventurer and looking to maybe purchase a new stove for this season, and even for you seasoned veterans, I think this video will help you decide which stove and which pot to take along for your trip. So, who am I? Well, I am Chef Corso. I'm head chef and founder of Outdoor Eats, and I am a classically trained chef. I have over 25 years of cooking experience, both in kitchens and fine dining and quick service. From culinary consulting, I worked for Starbucks for a time, and now I've been running Outdoor Eats for the last 6 years. I created Outdoor Eats to help us all eat well on our outdoor adventures, from backpacking to camping to road tripping to just a picnic. Wherever you go outside, I want you to be able to eat well. We have over 300 trail tested recipes for you to select right now at OutdoorEats.com, but the whole mission is to have us eat well. This is what I'm doing. This is my life. I love it. And what I love about this right now is this is a great day because I am on the Palos Verdes Peninsula south of Los Angeles, and this is where we get to talk about backpacking stoves, which is gorgeous. It is a beautiful day. We've got mustard going on here. We've got some beautiful wildflowers. The waves are crashing. The sun is going to set eventually, and that's absolutely fantastic. This is what I get to do. So we're going to get into our video here because there's a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of information below as well for you to check out. A lot of information above as well with some other click out videos from other videos that I've done for the channel. The other thing that you might not know is that I host a TV show called Outdoor Eats TV. Yep, it's airing right now nationally on FanDuel Sports, on Outside TV, and soon to be PBS this summer. So if it's coming out in maybe like August or September, check your local listings or check the links below or the rest of the channel. The idea for Outdoor Eats TV is that it's similar to the mission of Outdoor Eats, but it's a combination of a food show where you're going to learn a few recipes with a travel show, with an adventure show, and we shoot it in wonderful, beautiful places. So it's motivating folks to get outside, getting them to cook and to enjoy the outdoors in a new way, and emphasizing food because that is what it's all about, and it all goes back to sharing a great meal outdoors with your family and your friends. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about pots and stoves and pots, a whole lot, but specifically we're going to talk about gas type, talk about burner type that you can potentially take along, pot size capacity, very important, pot makeup, what is the pot made of, buying them separately or buying them together, the pot and the stove or the burner, things to look for, the QBR rating, which is a rating that I just made up. Yeah, you never heard about that before, but it's been super helpful for me when I am looking for the right pot and right stove combination. Also, 4 questions to ask for any trip, which can help guide which pot and which stove that you bring. And eventually I'm going to share the top 3 recommendations that I can give for some of these styles of backpacker stuff, because there are a lot of options out there and there are a lot of brands out there, and it can get very confusing and also very intimidating to know which is the best, which one is overpriced, and yeah, just which one to bring along. Also, because this is the Outdoor Eats channel, we will be cooking a couple of my favorite backpacking recipes along the way here, dotted through my little hike here on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. And what are we making? Well, we're making some trail tacos. We're making peanut butter and jelly grits, which is one of the most popular recipes from last year on the channel, and also beef stroganoff. Because did you know that beef stroganoff is the highest selling package meal flavor of all the brands out there, all the dry, salty, expensive package meals out there? Beef stroganoff is apparently your favorite. And I have matched it and I've made it better, and we're gonna show you how through this whole video. First up, what type of gas does your stove or burner take? And through this whole video, I'm gonna be using stove and burner interchangeably. They're the same thing. So there's a couple options out here, and not every camp stove uses the same gas. So it's very, very important to be able to check with your stove manufacturer in order which one to use. And so the main options we have here are, we have propane, which is those green canisters. You've seen them all around. You can get them even at hardware stores. Or you've got other canisters, isobutane canisters, different option. We also have alcohol stoves, which would be denatured alcohol or some other type of alcohol for some different types of stoves. We also have white gas, which is super fun, but also super flammable. We'll talk a little bit about that. And there are also natural sources, which is either sticks or pine cones or some sort of brush that you find along the way. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential options, main options for your gas type. And again, always good to check with your stove manufacturer on which one. So yes, read the directions and just double check. There are some stoves that have a little adapters that can use multiple styles of gas. And main two with that is propane and isobutane can be interchangeable depending on the stove manufacturer, but oftentimes it's just one type of gas for the specific type of stove. And farther along for the type of burner is what size. So there's a lot of different sizes out there. There's kind of like quarter size ones, which comes on jet boils or some fire maples. We've got whisper lights, which are a little bit larger and a little bit larger footprint. We've got pocket rockets or pocket rocket style options. Pocket rocket is a name and a trademark name from MSR, but there's also other small little tripod style stoves that can fit right in your pocket. Super, super awesome. Or you've got these other ones from Snow Peak or from Primus. And what's I think very important is to look at that makeup of your burner and how big is it. We'll talk a little bit more about why that's important later, but is it this size? Is it this size? Does it look like this? Is it a big flower that can cover a lot of space for a whole skillet? So check out the size of your burner and the makeup of your burner for which stove you can potentially purchase or bring along. Also, check out these other options for some other brands, just as far as what they look like and the different size and the different makeup, because it can get this really interesting. And if you guys are looking for some meal planning ideas for your backpacking trip coming up, check out this video. We have got a lot of great options for you and some other great tips for putting together a great meal plan for your trip. So what can you cook on each one? Can you cook up anything on any stove or any pot combination? Well, yes and no. I mean, I advocate for cooking for just about every meal because I think it's important, but there's an idea to be able to choose the right one to set you up for success. So first up, we've got kind of the shorter cooks is what I call them, which are the alcohol stoves and the natural sticks or the natural sources stoves. And what I mean by that is that you only have so much time for that small amount of alcohol or for your set of sticks or pine cones to be able to fuel your food in order to cook up your meal. What I suggest for that is to focus on very quick cooking ingredients like instant couscous, instant mashed potatoes, instant stuffing is a fantastic one. And you can check out this video here where I tested out a couple of these alcohol stove options with a smaller dinky camp pot, and you can still cook some great meals. You don't just have to boil water and add it to a bag. You have to be a little bit smart about it because you don't want to necessarily be adding more gas and priming it again or continually feeding for a longer simmer cook. So shorter cooks are best, and finding some ingredients that cook up very quickly or just need to get boiled and then rehydrated like instant rice or that instant couscous can be very helpful. The pros to these smaller camp stoves is that they are very small in capacity and also very lightweight. So they aren't going to weigh down your pack and can be a nice option for that. The cons is that they are a shorter cook and usually about only 5 to 10 minutes. So that is a factor as far as what stove you potentially could take. Also, natural sources aren't everywhere. So we often think like, oh, there's gonna be trees, there's gonna be twigs, there's gonna be pine cones, but not every hike in the country or in the world has natural sources for you to actually utilize. So sometimes I've been hiking in the desert and there's hardly any tinder around anywhere. And that means that I wouldn't be able to cook that night. So it's important to note that natural sources and twigs aren't necessarily everywhere. If you're just going in your backyard and you know that there's going to be twigs, that's fantastic, but something to note. And also they are not super efficient in wind. You know, you can take a wind protection, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but they're not that great in the wind, and they tend to flop around and flow around quite a bit, and that can decrease your efficiency and also increase your cook time in order to finally get to your meal. They're also not that great for larger groups or a larger pot. They are meant for 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 portions, so would not select them if you're cooking for anything over 2 people. Further along in the stove categories or burner categories, I call these mid to longer cooks, and that is the isobutane or the propane style stoves. Okay, and the pros of these is they are usually very easy to set up. You know, maybe some of them are a little bit interesting the first time, but once you know, you can set them up, screw on that canister, and you are ready to rip in a matter of seconds. So that is a huge pro. Also can have some integration, which we'll talk a lot about in a little bit as far as the pot and the pan actually fitting together. Other pro is that they are quick lighting and they are very efficient in their cook. So the isobutane and propanes they're used for a good reason. It's easy to set up. The fuel runs hot and runs hot enough in order to be able to boil up your water, cook up your dishes, and get eating. A con to the canister stoves is that those canisters can get a little bit bulky, so just keep that in mind. They're not really that heavy, but if you are going for a longer trip and you're gonna need quite a bit of gas, those can get a little bit bulky. For those, I just tend to suggest just share the load, so one person takes one person takes another, and then you should be fine. But it is a general con is that compared to other gas types is that those canisters can get a little bit bulky. And finally, to white gas stove options, the huge pro is that they are great at heat distribution. Often the burners are a little bit larger too, so you can use these for larger capacity camp pots or camp skillets if you're cooking for a larger group, and they burn hot, and they burn very efficiently. The potential cons is that they can be a little bit finicky, especially the first few times. I highly recommend, if you do purchase one of these, is to test these at home and test priming them at home, because they are very different than just screwing on a canister and lighting the burner. And they can get very dangerous, frankly, and could be a forest fire risk. So please test this out, because the gas can leak, the canister can, if you're not priming it properly, can cause some significant problems. So pros and cons for this one, but if you're able to dial the white gas stove options in, then they are absolutely fantastic. And if you're looking for a video on how much gas to take for your specific stove, check out this video here, because we talk all about that. Give that a nice stir. Okay. How are we looking in there, John?
Oh, it's looking good.
Buy one in there and give it a good couple tablespoons in there. We want this nice and flavored here today. And we also have some salt. Mix it up, cook it up, and you are good to go. Don't have to get too fancy or too dirty up another thing. Wow, yes, look at that. Load up your tortilla. Yes. Cheers. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, these are excellent.
Let's just get right in the mustard, because it's gorgeous. Come on, it's springtime here in California. All right, stoves and pots and stoves, and now it's time to talk about pots, okay? Because you need a burner to cook on, and you need something to cook in. So what we're talking about here is the size of the pot and the makeup of the pot. So small to big, there's a lot of different options out there, and for size, you can go really quite small, just a few hundred milliliters, or just a couple cups of volume. Or you can go all the way up to these larger ones that can cook for a large crew. And a lot of these ones go for on guided trips to be able to cook just one pot of something for a crew, so you're not cooking multiple times. So the size of the pot will be dictated by how many people are going in your group. So if it's just going for me, I'm probably going to take a smaller capacity one, anywhere from a 500 mil to a 1,000 mil. You know, if you want to watch a video that I did a while ago over a solo trip, I cooked in this dinky dink camp pot for a whole 4-night, 5-day backpacking trip, and I'm still here, so I survived. So there's a whole story about that. It's also another beautiful location. So the size of the pot will be dictated by how many people that you're taking. And what I also suggest too, if you're going for 2 people, it's maybe about a 1,000 mils or 1 liter pot. If you're getting up into the 3-4 category, you're probably gonna go into 1.5 to 2 liters to maybe 2.5 liters. And if you're going for 4 to 6, depending on what you're cooking, you're probably gonna need a larger capacity option. But for most of the trips, for most of what you're cooking, a 1 to 2.5 liter pot will be great. Again, if you're going solo, something a little bit smaller. So the makeup of a lot of these pots. So again, if you're new to outdoor cooking and you're new to backpacking, is wow, these look a little bit different than inside cooking, and they are lighter and they are thinner. And the main reason for that is we are looking for generally lighter weight. We don't necessarily want to take a large cast iron skillet or a big Le Creuset along on our backpacking adventure. You could take that car camping. That's a whole separate video. And what we're looking for our pot and our pan options and the makeup of that is something that is lightweight, that is durable because we're taking it outside, and something that's going to heat up quickly because we are hungry. Yep. So these pots are usually made up of either titanium, which is the lightest weight and the most durable. It has a tendency to scorch from time to time depending on what you're cooking, but can be a great option. Other is usually aluminum. It's a good mix of light and durability. There are some thicker options, there's some thinner options, but aluminum is also a makeup of some of these pots. There's also some hard anodized aluminum. So that is a coating and some other additional layering that is added so it's less sticky, which can be a positive depending on what you're cooking as well. There are some stainless steel options out there available, and that does increase your durability because those are rock solid, but those can get a little bit heavier. Some of these have a ceramic or a non-stick coating on there, so if you are looking to cook some eggs or some pancakes or some other items that can get a little bit sticky, then some of those extra coatings can be helpful. Not all of them have them. It's one of the kind of bells and whistles and little things that you have to look at when you're looking at your stoves or your pans. But those are kind of the main makeups of our pots. Is there a perfect one for every trip? No, not really. I've had very good success cooking on titanium, cooking on aluminum. If I am looking to cook something like eggs or pancakes or something, I do want a little bit of a coating, whether that's ceramic or some other non-stick option out there to assist so I'm not losing a lot of my food and also not scrubbing a whole lot after. Other thing to look at is the overall makeup of the pot. So there's a lot of options out there that are super popular, which I call chimney style stoves, okay? And excuse me, chimney style pots. So those are about this size and then they go up tall like a chimney. And most folks will say you're just boiling water and adding it to a bag. You can cook with these as well. You have to be a little bit mindful because things have a tendency to fall to the bottom and stick a little bit. But as long as you dig down to the bottom, if you are using a chimney style stove, I highly recommend that you do something with liquid. So making some flavorful broth or some ramen or some soups or your stews, or something that's quick cooking with your water, again with that couscous and instant mashed potatoes, so you don't have to do a long simmer and a long cook because they do have a tendency to scorch as well. But then other things to think about too as far as size is there's other options out there that are a little bit larger, a little bit squattier. So it's easier to move the ingredients around. So making some fajitas or doing a longer simmer stew or soup or something like that can be a better option. So as we've gone through this journey in backpacking stoves so far, we've talked about the size of the burner, the makeup of the actual burner, how that's going to support your pot, the gas type that it specifically needs. Then talking about the pot or the pan that's going to go on top, from the size, the capacity, the makeup, and choosing the right one for you and for your trip and what you are cooking, as well as the makeup of the pots themselves to see what's going to work best for you. So next, we're getting into some extras to look for. One other thing with stoves and pots and stoves is that they can be purchased together from, let's say, both from Primus, they're both from MSR, or they can be purchased separately. One thing to notice is that some of them are made specifically for each other. Say for like this MSR wind burner, is that this pot is made specifically for this burner. And sure, you could try to cook something over it, but it's gonna work the best if they're married together and they kind of stay together. There are also some other burners out there that are just flat, that are just meant to have fire, and that's all they're there for, and you can interchange the pots. So something to look for where sometimes it's positive when they are purchased together, like the Jetboil and the pot and pan integration, or this specific MSR option, or the other way to go is to buy them separately. And I know that is not super helpful sometimes because it adds to the confusion of like, well, is this pot gonna work on this burner? Well, if it's a flat top and a flat bottom for your pot and your stove, give them a try, especially at the outdoor store. You can ask questions too, just to double check. But that's another thing to consider, is you can buy them together or you can buy them separately. There we go, getting nice and creamy, cooking up. it down a little bit so we don't boil over. And for overall ratio, you could easily add just a little bit more water or a little bit more Jiffy to get your desired creaminess and desired consistency. Cooks up really, really quick. Make sure to stir to the bottom. And I've got some blueberry jam today. That sounded good to me. Wow, look at that. 4 ingredients: water, Jiffy, peanut butter, and jam. Ah, made it to the beach. Man, it's gorgeous today. So here are some things that are nice to have and things to look for your backpacking stove. So as you may have already gathered, is there are a lot of camp stoves out there that have igniters built into them. So that is helpful, but I'm here to say that they will eventually break. I have yet to have a brand of a stove where the igniter lasts for more than, say, a couple dozen times outdoors. So always have a backup, whether that's a fire starter, a sparker, or some sort of lighters. And quick little tip too on lighters, I don't take the Bic lighters anymore. I have had too many times where my hands are cold and they're wet, and all I want to do is light my darn burner so I can make some pad thai. And it just doesn't work. So I have gone to refillable butane lighters. Super helpful, really easy. They can be a little bit challenging at high elevation, but most of the time it's really awesome, and they also work for starting your campfire. Also, I always take 2 kinds of way to light my stove or light my fire, whether that's sparking, fire starter, or a lighter. Some extras to look for. So camp skillets. And the thing about it, I don't necessarily take a skillet on most of my backpacking trips because I don't need it. I don't need that extra piece of equipment because I'm not going to be cooking something that needs a skillet. Sometimes I do want some pancakes or some eggs or a quesadilla, something like that, then it is a good idea to be able to take along a skillet as well, but that's an extra. Don't have to bring a skillet for every backpacking trip. Also, when you're looking at skillets, the makeup of the skillet, the coating, everything we talked about earlier about pots also can translate to your skillet selection as well. Wind protection. So a lot of these are very exposed. As you can see, they just are a burner and they are a pot. There's not a lot of protection for wind. So you can pack another piece of equipment, which is a wind screen or a wind barrier. Easy foldable, put them right in your backpack, or you can make a natural barrier with some logs or some rocks depending on your campsite and depending on your wind direction. That can be super helpful for efficient cooking, and that way you're not wasting a whole lot of gas. That's something to be mindful of. In some camp stoves and camp pots, especially if they are integrated, do have some baffling or do have some insurance for wind protection. So something to look for and a nice extra. So other thing to look for our pots and stoves and pots. So durability is great, weight and volume, definitely a consideration. The overall BTUs, but for most of these, they're gonna be putting out quite a bit of heat, and that's not too much of a concern. Wind protection, like we just talked about, the igniters and lighting it in some way, pot and pan integration, and overall stability. So these 2 last ones are pretty important. So pot and pan integration, what I mean is that there's some sort of light locking mechanism, or at least a little bit of a lip in between both the burner and the pot or the skillet. And I like having that because a lot of these burners and pots are so slick. Like even just a little bit of an angle and they can slide. Or you got your big camp boots on, you've had a long day, and you just sort of nudge it on the side and there goes your ramen. So I like having a little bit of integration to be able to make sure that I'm not spilling my dinner, or also I'm not spilling boiling water on somebody. There's been some horror stories from some guide services out there that literally if the pot is right here and somebody has some exposed sandals, is the boiling water hit their feet and they had to end the trip because they basically scalded themselves. So that is something to consider and something that I look for when I am looking for a camp stove and a pot as far as integration. Overall stability, there are some little tripods that can help you out as far as stabilizing the gas canister itself. Those only go so far, and I like having the pot and pan integration and putting it in a safe, secure spot at your campsite that's away from a lot of things that's, potentially somebody could come along and mess with it. Other thing to look for is the Corso burner ratio. Yes, the CBR. I just made this up this year because I think it is important, but something that nobody is ever paying attention to when they are looking at camp stoves. And that is the ratio of the size of the burner to the size of the pot. Okay, so there's a lot of options out there that are very, very small burners, maybe like a quarter size, and then the pot is actually quite large. So if you are looking for efficient cooking and even cooking, you want a large ratio. You want a burner that's about this big to about the size of your pot or your pan. So one good example that I can share is this one from Primus. Okay, it's almost at 100%, maybe like a 90 to 95% coverage of the overall burner to the pot itself. Here's one that isn't all that great and not a good choice or not a good combination, where the burner is about this big and the pot or the pan or maybe the skillet is maybe 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and you're looking at like a 20 to 25% coverage. So what I want is I want at least 50% coverage, if not 75%, for even cooking and for efficient cooking, so the heat itself is hitting as many particles and as much surface area on the pot or the pan as possible. So I'm going to do more, and I'll do another video on the old CBR, but it's something that we need to pay attention to because I think it's important for great cooking outdoors. Okay, and if you want to grab the beef jerky and start to rip some of that into our pot here. Dried mushrooms, our French's onions, and our Parmesan crisps. So just getting that all nice and soft. Get that up to a nice simmer. Oops, there's one. Right, we're gonna do about half of this. That's coming together pretty nicely already. We're gonna put a lid on it. Wow, those mushrooms.
Smell it from here.
Yeah, it's smelling really, really good. Got me a little bit more. A little bit of rosemary if you like. But a little bit of mustard is gonna complement some of our flavors in there and give us a little bit of an acidity. Thickening up nicely. That's what you want for your stroganoff, right? Big old pot of beef stroganoff. Elevated once and elevated twice. So let's give this a try and see. Make sure to get some jerky and mushroom in there. It's gonna be hot. All right, last stop on the beginner's guide to backpacking stoves. Again, this is just beautiful. Get off your couch, go outside and see something. It's totally worth it. So the 4 questions you need to ask yourself after you've figured out which stove you potentially want to buy, or you have a couple in your garage right now. 4 very, very helpful questions to ask. So 1, who's going? Is it 1 person, 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, 8 people? Next is what type of gas does that burner take? Okay. Number 3 is where are you going? Are you going to need have a water source? Do you need to pack it in? Do you need to also pack a filter? Do you need to pack in for multiple days? You know, how long you're going, where you're going is a very, very important question to ask. And also, if you are a natural stove, a twigs and pine cone camper, then that's going to be very, very important question to ask for you to make sure you have some fuel when you get to camp. And lastly, what are you cooking? So if you're choosing to do very, very quick cook options and only cooking for yourself, then you don't need that much gas. You'll need a specific type of burner. Or if you're choosing to make something slightly more complex, you're gonna need a different pot. So all of Outdoor Eats recipes are meant to be fast and easy, 10 ingredients or less, 30 minutes or less. I'm not here to complicate your life, and I'm here to share that you can cook on any camp stove. You can cook on any camp pot, in any capacity camp pot as well. You just have to choose which one is the best for your pot and for your trip. Again, who's going, what type of gas that you're taking along, where are you going, and then what are you cooking are 4 super, super helpful questions to ask, and that will guide your equipment choice, both on the pot and the burner. So here are a couple examples. If I am going on a solo adventure, 1 person, I'm probably gonna take a pocket rocket, which has a isobutane canister. Amount of gas will depend on the length of my trip, and a 500 mil to 750 mil pot. That's gonna be enough. I've had some experience with that, and that is going to give me some great meals and some nice capacity to be able to cook up some awesome options. If I'm going on a 2-person trip, I'm probably gonna need at least a 1 liter to 1.2 liter capacity camp pot and multiple different stove options to be able to take along. I'll kind of choose my own adventure at the right time. If I'm going on a 4-person trip, then I might take this MSR wind burner, which has a 2.5 liter pot with pot and pan integration, and nice even cooking, a very, very solid CBR for overall a ratio for the burner and the pot, and that can be a very, very nice option. But I could also consider taking along a Whisper Light or something similar, or a Snow Peak option that looks a little bit like this, that has a nice large footprint, and then packing along a pot that can complement that. All right, here are my top 3 options for the backpacking stove category. So first up is Near Zero. So they are a company out of Arizona, making some fantastic options for the beginner backpacker, both in the stove and pot category, but also in the backpack, so check them out. But I love their small little origami option that does fit in your pocket, as well as this little kit for their pot. And the makeup of their pot is this. This is a fantastic option for 1 to 2 portions. Next, I consistently cook on the MSR wind burner. So I love the even cooking of this. I love the lip and the pot and pan integration, and I love the tripod feet. It just gives me a nice stable surface and very, very even cooking. The pot itself is a slightly coated with ceramic, so it does help with overall sticking. So I've had this stove for multiple years. I cook out on this stove in a hotel parking lot, on a backpacking trip, on a road trip, just about anywhere. And I love also the size and capacity of the pot to be able to cook up multiple things and be able to stir it around. I also really like the MSR Whisper Light. This is for a longer haul backpacking trip. It's a very, very even surface. This can be an isobutane or a white gas option, both interchangeable, and super, super awesome and very, very sturdy, and you can pick whatever pot or skillet that you want to go along with it. I'll give you a bonus one here too, and check out this video because I just reviewed it, comparing the Primus Ulti with the MSR Reactor. This is a newer one that's been on the market, and the CBR is fantastic, very, very even cooking, awesome simmering, and it is a chimney style option, but it very, very sturdy and very thought through construction. So there's a bonus for you. But those 4 can give you a nice start to be able to look into this backpacker stove category. If you have a question about a stove, please email me, and I can at least guide you in the right direction. Also, if you have any questions, check the stove manufacturer, check the directions first before you go out there, because they know best. They know way more about all this stuff than I do. But thanks for coming along for intro to backpacking stoves here in California by the beach. Boy, it's absolutely beautiful and super, super awesome. But guys, get out there this season and every season. Get out there and cook. That's what it's all about. We're going outside to enjoy the beautiful places, to enjoy our family and our friends, and I want the missing piece, which is food, to finish that trifecta for a fantastic time outdoors and lasting memories. Because if your food is good, you're going to want to be going out again and again and again for a day hike, for a long haul backpacking trip, a weekend trip, whatever you're doing. But get out there, cook something amazing somewhere awesome, go adventure somewhere, check out other videos, check out the show notes below for a lot more information, check out Outdoor Eats TV as well, and get out there. Boca Boca.